that little funding gets withdrawn, as is being proposed. Nobody knows whether the pronouncement was a cabinet decision or Mr. Machogu's personal opinion and directive. No explanation is forthcoming. Now, as Kenyans were processing this weird roadside declaration from the Ministry of Education, another excited cabinet secretary in the person of Mr. Kipchumba Murkomen, out of the blues again, with no prompting or demand by the public whatsoever, came out with what he claimed to be the contract between the government of Kenya and the People's Republic of China over the SGR project. The so-called contract turned out to be no contract at all. It is equally not clear what the CES intended to achieve and whether the decision to publicize this so-called contract as Mr. Murkomen was pulling this juvenile prank, a more serious crisis involving his ministry was unfolding. Pilots attached to the national carrier Kenya Airways were going on a catastrophic strike. As Mr. Murkomen was trying to excite the public with the purported SGR contract. Now, the country is currently losing hundreds of millions of shillings every day as a result of the pilots' strike. The image of the country is getting dented by this strike, and the national carrier, which has been struggling over the decades, is likely to take a beating from which it may take another decade to recover, if at all. Again, there's neither leadership nor direction. Instead, there are only threats to the striking pilots, blame games, backpassing, and politicking over the matter. There is no concerted effort to engage the pilots and no effort whatsoever by the CES and the national government to appreciate the magnitude of the problem at hand. Instead, pilots are being told to take to the skies by force. Otherwise, there will be consequences. The net total of these developments that we are witnessing is that the country is experiencing a serious leadership deficit. Nobody is giving appropriate direction on extremely critical issues like binding international contracts, aviation industry, and education, just to mention a few. Instead, the UDA administration is consumed by quest for revenge, blame games, looking for bogeymen, and scheming to stay in power, while the country starts regressing into its old ways very early in the life of this new administration. We are calling out President Ruto and his administration. It is time for Ruto and his administration to govern. It is time to lead, but we fear they never will. We seem to be staring at a government that is government in name only. Too early into this administration, we are staring a leader and his team who have little to offer and are so consumed by pride and excitement to realize that they are off rail. We are certainly staring at the consequences of having a regime that lacks mandate and agenda. So far, the UDA government is simply occupying space, not governing at all. In the few weeks of UDA administration, all we see is the bitter partisan politicking, making the divide in the country to get deeper and wider. Even the little optimism that was there is quickly giving way to frustration and fear. We remind the president and his team that the country is crying for leadership. The country is crying for leaders that will bring it together and also make the decisions needed to tackle the monumental challenges our people are going through. We remind the president that there is a falseness about him and his administration. There is a lack of empathy. There is a coldness and arrogance that are at odds with the times. In the meantime, we wish to alert Kenyans early enough to significantly lower their expectations. We are on our own if these developments are anything to go by. UDA must stop simply occupying office and spaces and start governing. Thank you.
No, Miss Aisha.
Maybe I could have a word.
Yes, one question. Okay. Your immediate response to this emerging debate of the extension of term.
Hiyo ni mzuri sana. Now hiyo sasa ndio siasa. Wacha niongee kidogo hiyo. You know, first I wanted to add to the leader. I wanted to add to what the leader has said that
Sorry.
yeah. I wanted to add to what the leader has said that the Kenya Kwanza regime must now cease. There must be a ceasefire in this country of these roadside declarations. Kenyans have had enough of it. You can't be giving roadside declaration every Sunday in a church. Please. That must stop. Let us agree first on the ground rules that these roadside declarations must end. Government now must bring policy, now must operate through parliament. They must operate through their ministries. They must do things the way government was known to be doing things. The way things Kenya Kwanza is doing now is not the way government operates. Because everyone, like some disgruntled militia, is giving roadside declaration anywhere and anyhow. But secondly, this issue of term limit, I want to advise UDA and Kenya Kwanza in general, as an advice, that it is too early to test the waters with that kind of statement. Kenyans are suffering. There is drought. There is hunger. There are myriad of problems in our country. Cost of living. We know ourselves as politicians. You send a small squirrel to test for you the waters, whether there is maize in the granary. We know each other. That's what the young man was doing. But I want to advise them that they can postpone that for another day. We know it is coming, and we are waiting for it. We know one day, before this term ends, that matter will come, either through parliament or through another means. We are waiting for it. But the only advice we want to issue now, as colleagues in politics, it is too early to talk about that. Because Kenyans are suffering, Kenyans have problems. The issue of term limit, we said it before election, we will say it now, and we know it is coming. But we know how to deal with it, and we will deal with it at the right time, not at this time when Kenyans have problems of drought, hunger, cost of living. No. We want to fight over that matter when Kenyans are not hungry, when Kenyans' bellies are full. That's the time to play that kind of football. So I'm telling this Kenya Kwanza, don't add sufferings to sufferings. Kenyans are suffering enough, so don't add term limit. And secondly, we know that when we play our role as an opposition, why do they take offense with us? They are the ones who told us we want people who want to check us. People will check government. People will do their opposition. That's what we are doing. Strong opposition. Why are you complaining again when we do our work? Please. Unless you want to remove the term limit. That's when opposition is not needed. Opposition is not needed if you want to remove the term limit. So we are still doing press-ups. We are coming. We need the press-ups.
Let me say something. Thank you, Leader. Dr. Gogo, I want to make specific mention to Dr. Ruto as a President of the Republic of Kenya. I'm just curious, when Ruto literally abandons university lecturers and the university system that gave him or conferred an honorary degree on him the other day, how can somebody say that they are even thinking of not funding our universities when the funding that is going to the universities is so menial, it's not even enough. Our lecturers cannot do research, and a country is developed through research and innovation. So how can somebody, he had better put his men and women in order. They should not just go yapping everywhere. We need a cohesive society, as it were. People have come from a very grueling election, and what we need right now is one Kenya with working leaders. Issues of wanting to say term limit, and you have not worked. What do you want to limit this term to if it's not for work? So those people who are around the president who want to keep this country hot, we are tired. We want our people developed. We want food supplied to women and children who are suffering. Women need water. We need our roads done. Don't put our few, the people who are running KQ, the few who are employed there, don't throw them to the dustbin without jobs. Young people are looking for something to do. Can you put your house in order? As it comes to opposition, we are going to play a serious role in opposition. There are people who are also moving around trying to hoodwink and saying that we are ready to work with you. I hear some of them come from the greater side of Nyanza and in the lake. I want to take this platform and advise them. Nobody has said that they are not going to work with Ruto. Ruto is a president, and that is why we are holding him to account. The buck stops with him, and he had better hold the country together and make his men shut up. We are tired. We are tired of very many words, and what we want is work, work, and work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before Honorable Sosi says something, and my other colleagues, I've been asked to comment on the issue of the term limit. And really not to dilute what Honorable Nyota said. You know, during the campaigns, we kept on reminding Kenyans that if they make a mistake of allowing the UDA brigade to take over the reins of power in this country, they will be allowing the country to take the Uganda direction. Because we knew all along that President Ruto was envious of the record that has been set by his close friend Yoweri Museveni across the borders. So, but we want to caution really this early in the day, even though we know they are simply testing the waters. We want to caution very, very strongly that a country like the one we see obtaining in Uganda shall be resisted vigorously by the people of Kenya. And therefore, to the person who is sending these surrogates, we are now addressing you. The person sending these surrogates to test the waters, we want to warn you that we are closely monitoring your moves. And we shall not allow you to succeed in these very devious schemes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think mine is just to add on to what my colleagues have said, that we are asking the UDA administration to work for Kenyans and to stop all these shenanigans they're involved in. The other day I saw the president donating food to Somalia, and yet our own Kenyans are dying of hunger. That tells you clearly how this government is confused, and I think we don't have a government. What we have is we have a one-man show who is controlling every ministry, who is directing everything, and is doing that through roadside declaration. So the era of roadside declaration has come back. This era ended during KANU time. But now, KANU somehow has been revived through UDA, and they are making roadside declaration.
Yes.
We are saying that we will continue piling pressure on them,
Yes.
and we will not accept the change of the constitution to increase the term limit for the president. And no wonder Ruto is a friend of Museveni. He is now reading from Museveni's power book, because this is how it started in Uganda. One MP comes up and says, then some other people talk about it, and the next thing,
you hear that the constitution has been changed. No wonder he's moving in regions, buying people, buying MPs, so that he can push this amendment through parliamentary initiative. We are telling him, we are watching you, and we will not allow you to amend the constitution, pengine ubadilishe ile ya Sugoi.
Thank you very much.
You know, in Uganda, first they changed the constitution and removed the term limit first, and changed it to age limit. And in the end, they changed the age limit again, because that person who was changing himself for himself to remove the term limit ended up growing older. So age caught up with him. So first he removed the term limit. He thought that he's young now, he can stay, and then changed to age limit. Then he ended up reaching that age limit. Then he had to remove the age limit. So I want to advise Oda that even that age you want to bring, you'll end up reaching there. So I don't know whether you'll end up removing the age limit also, so that you continue ruling until you die. Thank you very much. You want to say something?
Let me just say something very quickly. Number one is that the energy that UDA is using to test waters with the term limit issue, they should actually spend that energy on giving solutions to this country. Like, for example, Kenya Airways is losing millions of money on a daily basis because there's no solution to this crisis. Number two, the other day the president was grappling with getting a solution to the UNGA issue that we have. And he actually stated that instead of giving a solution in 100 days, he's going to use 1 year. I want to advise the president that he should go and benchmark in Homa Bay County, one of the Azimio counties, because they've been able to get a solution to the UNGA issue that we have in this country, so that he can get solutions instead of wasting time in roadside declarations and things that do not help Kenyans. So go and benchmark in Homa Bay County on how to get a solution for UNGA. Thank you.
Okay, asanteni sana. Mungu abariki.